Unit 5. Listen 2.
Now, can I have the task card back, please? Thank you. We've been talking about towns and cities. I'd like to discuss with you one or two more general questions relating to this. Let's talk about living in cities and the countryside. Do you think life is better in the city or in the countryside?
I suppose it depends on the person. In many ways, life is easier in the countryside. By that, I mean that there's more space, no crowds, and it's usually cheaper to live. On the other hand, it can be a lot less interesting. Most cultural activity goes on in cities. Personally, I wouldn't want to live outside a city, but I've lived in Rome all my life. I imagine that if I'd lived all my life in a small village, I probably wouldn't want to live in a city.
In many countries, cities are growing fast. Why do you think this is?
I'm not sure. Perhaps it's because in some countries the standard of living in the countryside is very low, and life for a lot of people is just about growing enough food to live. I guess many people in that situation, A, get bored, and B, hope to find a higher standard of living in the city.
What problems can rapidly expanding cities have?
Let me think. Well, when cities expand very rapidly, it's often without any control over how they develop. In other words, they become megacities with huge shantytowns and no proper, infrastructure for millions of people. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't find the better life they were hoping for and can end up in an even worse situation. This is probably one of the biggest problems we face today.
Some cities receive millions of visitors. What problems can this cause?
Well, this is an entirely different problem, and I know a lot more about this because I live in Rome. If you go into the historic center on a Saturday in the summer, it can seem that you're the only local inhabitant there. The problem is that cities with too many visitors can lose their original character. Although, of course, it's not a problem for people who own restaurants and shops in the historic center. To put it another way, tourism supports a lot of people financially.
What can be done to ensure tourism doesn't cause too many problems?
That's not an easy question to answer. If you limit tourist numbers, you also limit the benefits to the local economy. And how do you limit visitor numbers? You can't put a wall around the city. If the tourist board in my city tried harder to promote the less famous parts of the city, the visitors might spread out. There are some beautiful areas outside the center, with some great historic monuments, but very few tourists go there, because they're all in the most famous places in the center.
Thank you very much. That's the end of the speaking test.